We're Hasani and Danielle Pettiford, and we're a real couple with real problems who almost called it quits.
I was very frustrated. I became very disconnected, very jaded and cold.
We have 4 children, going on 20 years of marriage, and we practice what we preach.
Our mission, to change the way couples relate to one another and teach them the skills needed to improve the quality of their relationships. This is the Couples Academy Show.
Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hasani.
And my name is Roland.
And we're here to talk about relationships today. We've been in a series on trust, right? I don't trust you. And, then we talked about, how to regain trust. And now we're going to talk about, actually, that's what we're talking about today, how to regain trust, because it's so critically important. If you are the offender, if you are the betrayed, if you are the one that has hurt your spouse, whether it was conscious or not, we're going to be talking about how to win your spouse's heart back. It is a journey. It is a journey that you're going to have to embrace. And so we're glad to be able to unpack this for you here today. Now, listen, a couple quick announcements. We're headed into August, the second weekend of August. I believe it's the 10th through the 12th or the 12th. I don't know. That second Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, the Last Chance Weekend is here. But let's give you a taste of what somebody experienced at a previous one, and we'll get into today's show.
My name is Johnny Bagley. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. Me and my wife came to the Last Chance program. The experience was what we expected. Outstanding. The pivotal point for me was the breakdown of me individually as well as my wife as a person. Getting to the root of you as a whole, outside of the current situations or problems that you and your significant other is currently going through. My takeaway from this would be my marriage will go on, and for anyone that is thinking or suggesting about taking the program, never mind the cost, because the experience outweighs the cost, and it's a lifelong experience, as well as the friendships and the connections that comes with it after the Last Chance Weekend. Thank you.
Hey guys, welcome back. You're watching the Couples Academy Show. My name is Hasani. This is Roland. We're jumping into this conversation. We're talking. I hope they can hear me, but we're jumping into this conversation on trust and how to restore it and the importance of doing that. And so, this is for the betrayer, this is for the offender, this is for the individual who has hurt their spouse, and they just have this idea that suggests, listen, I promise I won't do it again, you could just trust me. And it simply doesn't work like that. So we're going to walk you through these steps. Number one, you have to listen without defensiveness. You have to understand that when you created this hurt or this harm in your spouse, no matter what it was, this is a person who's invested their time, their energy, their emotions. They have been vulnerable to you. They've given you their world. And now it seems like their world has just crumbled into ashes because of this particular offense. And it's not just about the lie, or it's not just about the act that you did. They don't just question what you did, they begin to question you. They begin to question their choice of you. Everything begins to float through their mind. Did I even make the right choice? Because all along their belief was, their assumption was that you were honest and integral, and then something happened that broke that trust. And so in the beginning stages of trust being violated, there are going to be an incalculable number of conversations that you're going to have. And a lot of times they're going to be speaking out of their hurt. They're going to be speaking out of their pain. And you have to be there to lean in and listen, not being defensive, right? Not being on an attack, not emotionally shutting down, not coming up with, choice words that says that wasn't my intention, or I didn't mean to hurt you. That's not something that they're going to be able to hear and accept and believe. And so you have to learn how to show empathy, how to sit through long, challenging conversations without becoming defensive. Because once you become defensive, it justifies their reason even more as to why they believe they cannot trust you.
That's a great point. And to add to that, point number two is own your actions. So when you're talking about justifying, when you own your actions, don't try to justify your behavior. Don't try to make it seem as if what was done was just not that bad. It was pretty bad. And you have to just justify it. You have to own it. When we start saying stuff like, well, it was just, I didn't mean it, because we start justifying or minimizing to, or even being dismissive to what you have done. You need to own your actions. You need to take responsibility for what you have done, for what you have said, and just own up to your stuff. That's just the bottom line. When we're talking about take ownership, when we talk about taking responsibility, that means you stepping into the role of saying, I was the person that did wrong, period. Not justifying it, not trying to give it an excuse, not trying to make it right. Your wrong is wrong, and you just need to own it.
And that's such an awesome point. And see, this is where a lot of times the unfaithful or the betrayer or the violator or whatever it is messes up. Because, I say this all the time, Roland. Listen, there may have been circumstances, there may have been a relational pattern that was challenging, that created a vulnerability in the relationship. Mm-hmm. And as a consequence, you did what you did. But you can't point your finger at the circumstances. You have to own what it was, because other people have gone through what you've gone through and haven't done what you've done. And we say this all the time. When we all face pressure, we respond to pressure differently. And so your response, the way that you responded to it, is the problem, not the pressure. We're not dealing with the pressure now. Yes, we know we had communication problems. Yes, we know we had financial situations. We know there was an emotional disconnect. I was hurting just like you were hurting, but I didn't do what you did. So you can't use the situation as the justification for your actions, because your actions are yours alone. And I think that first we have to deal with the offense, right? Take ownership for that, to your point. Then we have to deal with the environment or the circumstances that may have created a vulnerability for the offense to take place. Two separate things. But when you commingle them, it shuts your spouse down and keeps him from being able to receive it. Does that make sense?
Perfect sense. And we have to lean in to taking on what we've done. That's just the bottom line. We have to lean into our own actions, make sure that we address our own insecurities and our own behaviors, and not put it on somebody else. That's just the bottom line.
Absolutely. Point number 3, this is huge. We're talking about how to regain the trust of your spouse. You have to accept the emotional impact of your spouse. Now, this is challenging here because a person's emotional reaction and response and their grieving process is going to be unique and specific to them. And oftentimes it's based upon a number of factors. It's based upon their personality style. It's based upon their emotional fragility. It's based upon their relationship history. It's based upon their worldview. It's based upon their family marinade. Like, there's an incalculable number of factors that go into or weigh into how one responds over another, because you can have two people who have the same exact offense and one's able to deal with it, in a particular way, and the other one's just all over the place. They're struggling for several months. And so we can't look at others and say, well, why don't you react like this person? Or this shouldn't be taking you so long, or you should be beyond this by now. And I didn't realize this was going to hurt you so bad. There's a lot of stuff. We talk about this. We come into relationships with our own hurts and pains and struggles from the past and traumas that we haven't necessarily healed from yet. Maybe we're bringing some of that stuff into our current relationship. And so because we haven't processed and healed and released it, when something else happens, right, we attach those issues to that particular situation. And now this is another reason why I'm struggling the way I'm struggling. So if I haven't been able to deal with issues in the past, don't expect me to quickly be able to deal with them in the present. And so that's why your personal growth and healing is so critically important to the process. I just did an intensive this weekend, Roland, actually this weekend, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, with an amazing couple. And man, I tell you, when we go through that exercise and we have them kind of write out their fears, their self-esteem issues, like all of the stuff that they're dealing with on the inside, and it all comes out, they quickly begin to realize, man, this struggle that I have existed before us. It was something I was dealing with in previous relationships or as a child. And as a consequence, it's coming out like a flood in the context of this relationship. And so this is why your personal healing is critically important.
I don't think we realize, to your point, how much we sweep things under the rug. As long as you keep sweeping things under the rug, sweeping it under the rug, sweeping it under the rug, we are suppressing our emotions. We're suppressing those things that cause hurt, that cause pain, and then we overcompensate. We try to make it look good. We try to make it, not be so bad. And then when you get to that point when you are able to have a detox or a release of those things that you swept underneath the rug, there's a sense of freedom. There's a sense of liberation that you would have, that you can move differently, that you can feel light on your feet because you've allowed all of this stuff that you have suppressed, that you've been holding in, that you've made to not look so bad. You've let all of that go. Anytime you're carrying a backpack full of books and you're carrying it, you begin to get comfortable with it because now you've adjusted to the weight. But then when you let it go, you realize that you was carrying something that was much heavier than you really needed to be carrying. In other words, we go through our lives carrying stuff that we really don't need to carry. And then when we let it go, we feel so much lighter. We have to do those same things with the behaviors, with the things we sweep underneath the rug, so that we can live our life on purpose, that we can live our best lives.
Wow. That's such a powerful point. You have sunny days, you have rainy days, but if every day is raining, you forget what the sun is like. And then once you finally experience it, you're like, oh my God, it's nice. And to your point, carrying the emotional weight, the relational weight, it's an emotional toxicity that's festering on the inside of us because all we know is trauma, or all we are reminded of, even when the trauma is gone, is the past traumas that we've experienced, and we're carrying it and carrying it and carrying it, and is leaving an impact on our physical health and our physical body. But once it is released, it is such a healing, man. That is so true. Listen, guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show. Roland and I are talking about how to regain trust in a relationship. Be right back after this quick announcement.
Welcome to the Couples Academy app. The Couples Academy app is your go-to hub for how to do marriage right. Get started with our app today by perusing our amazing features that conveniently allow you to connect. This app is packed with powerful content and resources to help you grow and stay connected. With this app, you can watch our messages, find marriage resources, watch, listen, and read the real-life stories of restored couples, sign up for events, read articles and blog posts, stay up to date with push notifications, share your favorite messages via Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or email, and download messages for offline listening. For more information about the Couples Academy app, go to couplesacademy.org.
Hey guys, you're watching the Couples Academy show and we're back. We're talking about how to regain that trust. There's so many comments coming in. I think this is a hot topic that people really resonate with. So let's just dive into some of these comments so we can give the people some love.
Yeah, so Gonzalez said, truly hear the heart of the matter from your spouse. We have to be willing to listen, right? We can't just run over what they're saying or be dismissive about what they're saying. We have to really listen to them and understand how they're feeling. Francesca, she said, I'm trying to rebuild. Where did we go? I'm trying to rebuild trust after revealing D-Day. One thing that has worked for me is owning up and being responsible about my actions. Act with integrity and let my partner do his monologues. Listen and don't be contentious. Don't interrupt when they talk, and understand how they feel, not making his pain mine. So
excellent point. Go ahead.
Okay. That's a very excellent point. You know, just because, again, when we understand one another, we have to understand that both parties are hurting. Both parties are hurting in one way or another. But when we allow that person to have a safe place to be able to speak, have a safe place to be able to express, have a safe place to be able to let all of it out, then the healing process begins for both parties. It begins for both of you all. And so you can listen and not be so contentious about what the person is saying. Don't be defensive. To the first point that we talked about, you know, we don't have to go to bat at everything. We just need to listen. We need to process. We need to understand so that we can move forward.
Shalice said something powerful. She said, we are in two different places. He's completed Foundry and believes himself to be cured. I'm still trying to get better. My struggle is true forgiveness, and I know there are levels to it. That's part one. Then she goes on to say, but there are questions he can't or won't answer. He has dealt with it and won't revisit the past. How do I move forward without answers? How do I truly forgive when trust is still a major issue? Well, you can't move forward, right? You have to understand that the journey of 1,000 miles begins with one step. Okay, so maybe in your recovery process, you've taken a necessary step, but then there's another step and another step, which leads to the next step. And we can't skip over steps. We can't stay stuck in particular steps. We have to go through the process. There is a method and a process. And so him doing Foundry is excellent because he was able to get some clarity for himself to become a better version of him. But he has to take that insight, has to take that knowledge and apply it to the marriage. Him being a better him is for the benefit of the marriage. And so whenever you're in a relationship, if one is up and the other one's down, the one who's up got to come down to the level that the one who's hurting is on to help bring them back up together. And so, listen, trust is a major issue. I don't know if you've gone through full disclosure. I don't know if you've done counseling. I'm not sure, but that's a necessary ingredient. And I will say that there is no silver bullet. That's why we have a variety of different programs. So there's a program for men, for women, but then there's a program for couples, and all have to be done in order to get you to the place where you ultimately want to be.
That's absolutely right. A lot of times, if you ever think about a person that's drowning, unfortunately, or in a place of distress in water, someone has to be willing, the stronger person, the person that is on the land, right, has to be willing to jump in to go and save that person and pull them back in. It's the same scenario when you're talking about forgiving your spouse, when you're talking about dealing with situations that you find yourself drowning in. The person that is stronger has to be able to pull in. Now, what happens is the person that is in a distress situation, if they start fighting the process, if they start fighting the person that is trying to save them, it pulls both of them down. It makes the situation worse. So you have to be willing to free yourself, let yourself go, give that level of forgiveness. So that way the person that is strong enough to carry you can carry you back to land, and you guys could walk together and agree. So
Yes.
don't fight the process. Don't fight it. You have to let some things go. You have to be willing to forgive so you guys can move to a better place.
That's an excellent point. And Jewel actually commented. She said, pitch 15. Now, any of you who are part of the Couples Academy community, you know exactly what that means. There's a phenomenal movie that we always talk about called The Dawn Wall. And it's about these two gentlemen who literally climbed a wall that was impossible. And along this wall, there were about, 32 pitches, which was the length between one portion of the wall and the next. And as they went up, each pitch got harder and harder and harder, but they got stuck at pitch 15. Now, it was expected that this mountain climb would have taken maybe a day or so, maybe a day, but they were stuck at pitch 15 literally for more than a day. And so they kept trying and failing and trying and failing and trying and failing. And they had to come up with different strategies. And so many of you in your relationship are stuck at pitch 15. And it seems hopeless. And it seems like, you know what, maybe I should just throw in the towel and call it quits and just give up. Maybe we just go back down this mountain. But you've gone too far to turn back now. And though you're in a stuck place in your situation, I want to let you know that there have been so many people who've made it beyond their pitch 15, beyond their impossible point, to get to a place that they never thought that they could go. But it took will, it took determination, it took stick-to-itivism, it took God, it took everything within their being to get to that place. So don't quit. Don't give up. Don't do what Roland was just suggesting, but stay in what he wasn't suggesting to do, but stay in the fight. Keep fighting, keep pushing, because if you do so, you'll get transformation in your life. Are we going to another commercial break? It's that time already? Good God. We just getting started. Be right back, guys. Stay right there. All right, we're back, guys. This is a great conversation. Thank you all for tuning in and for making comments and for asking your questions. We're talking about how to regain your spouse's trust after there's been a situation. Let's go to the next step. We're on step 5. You have to apologize. I think we can't overemphasize this enough. An apology is everything. It's beyond, I'm sorry. I ain't mean to do it. Like, we apologize incorrectly, and we can actually make the situation worse. There's got to be a genuineness and authenticity. It can't seem forced. It can't seem like you're doing it because, good God, like, let's just get through this. Like, if it's not just the words that you speak from your mouth, but it's the feeling that comes from your heart. Are you empathetic? Are you remorseful? Are you specific about what you've done that you're apologizing for? And once you've given an apology, you have to realize that you may have to give it again and again
And
and again
again,
and again and again. And as your partner is triggered, you have to understand and learn how to communicate with empathetic statements that speak to where your partner is in that moment. And it may require another apology, right? You're not just apologizing about the incident per se, but apologizing for possibly how you've shown up throughout the course of the relationship, apologizing for where you two are now as a couple, and making a commitment. So it's not just saying, I'm sorry, can we get through this? But it's also making a verbal declaration and a commitment to what the future will look like, giving them hope, giving them inspiration, sharing a vision of the future to help them get out of that dark space.
my favorite word, here it goes again, is reassurance. When you apologize, apologizing is a action word, right? Because now you're having to do something after you apologize. To just simply apologize and say I'm sorry or it won't happen again is not simply just not enough. We have to be willing to do the work. You're going to have to go in and you're going to have to do the exercise, and you're going to have to give me 10 more. You may have to give me 10 more, because anytime you're trying to do something different and do something better, you're going to have to put in a little extra work. You may have to go in before practice. You may have to stay after practice to make sure that you are strong enough to prove and show your commitment to the person that you're apologizing to. It has to be action, and it has to be work that needs to be done.
You know, what you're saying is critical, and it makes me think of Kobe Bryant, right? Kobe Bryant will tell you he wasn't the most athletic, but he was the hardest working. And he was there before practice started. He was there when practice was over. He was there during the off season. He put in that work and didn't respect those who did not. And to your point, Roland, it will work if you work it, but are you willing to do the necessary work?
Let me piggyback off of that and jump to our next point. You have to make the necessary changes. That means you're going to have to do things differently. That means that may be giving up passwords, or allowing your spouse to come into your world of what your work schedule looks like and how you operate at work and the different things that you do. We have to be willing to go beyond the norm to make the necessary changes to have a better life. When we're talking about rebuilding trust, you talk about Kobe Bryant. Kobe Bryant dropped his kids off at school every day and was able to pick them up. Why? He lived in Los Angeles, but he did not allow traffic to get in his way. So what did he do? Unfortunately, he died by the same way that he moved, but he bought a helicopter. And he made the necessary changes, is my point, to make sure that he was there for his family, make sure that he was there to do his work, and make sure that he was able to be everywhere he needed to be when he needed to be there. When we talk about making necessary changes, that means doing things outside of the norm to rebuild the trust that we have broken. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some effort. It's going to take some thinking outside of the box. But just because you think outside of the box, until you get outside of the box, nothing else is going to matter.
So true. I mean, love it. What you're saying is so true. Let's go to the last point before we wrap up today. You have to what? Be patient. You need patience, guys. See, a lot of times we think we're entitled to receive trust again. Like, okay, hasn't it been long enough? Like, haven't I been in purgatory long enough? You should just trust me. And we want you to understand that it's going to take time. It is a process. We say all the time. It's become like a trite statement at this point, but trust is lost in buckets and gained in drops. And you have to be willing to stick in there and be patient. When you think about farmers who sow seed into the ground, they don't sow seed on a Monday and produce a harvest on Tuesday. There's a law of growth or a germination process that must take place. So you're in a season of making deposits into your spouse because there's been a deficit. And when you've made deposits long enough, something's going to happen beneath her or beneath him in their heart and in their mind that's going to work on things. And then at some point, trust will be restored and regained. That's when the harvest time comes. So just know that you're committing to a process. You're committing to a season. You're committing to your spouse and the restoration of the relationship for the rest of your life. And so if you have the right mindset and if you follow the steps that we just gave you, you will have a phenomenal relationship. It can happen again for you. So listen, guys, we appreciate you tuning in to the Couples Academy show. Roland, as always, you kill it, you crush it, you destroy it. And that's why we're glad to have you on the team. We will see you tomorrow for Ask the Experts. Tune in. Have a great day, guys.